Good evening. Today is February 4th, 2026. This is a joint FinCom Select Board meeting, a third meeting for the budget for FY27 with department heads. We have a pretty stacked agenda tonight. We are starting off with the water and sewer departments. We squeeze them in. The Conservation Commission, Board of Health, Cemetery Commissioners, Veterans Agent, Parks and Rec, Town Administrator, Town Council, Select Board. Anticipated adjournment for the Select Board and the Finance Committee is going to adopt a code of conduct for this coming year, and they will adjourn. Okay, with that, Nick, you're up.
Thanks, Steve.
You want to just come to the table there?
Yeah. So we're a little earlier than usual, but my board has seen these budgets. They're not, haven't been voted on yet. But I think the final budgets will be pretty close to what's presented tonight.
Okay.
You know, so the first page of the document shows FY27 water budget compared to FY26. On the O&M side, not a lot of variances from last year. Obviously on administration, we get a cost of living raises with salaries. We do have 8 hours a week for the assistant conservation agent, Lauren, who's been a good asset for us. We have a lot of projects that are kind of have a conservation involvement to it right now. Jim and I have been working on that together, and I think FY28 that'll go away, but for FY27, I think we can still support and defend having that assistant agent work on, for the water department. Obviously, we got the insurance costs that you all are dealing with as well, impacting the administration part of the budget. And the full debt, so for Boxborough, that part of the project, is hit our debt payment, so that's gone up $64,000. Not a lot really. When you look at our debt for the year, it's right around $2 million annually. From a production side, that actually went down, so that's our wells, our treatment, all that kind of stuff. Every other year, we clean our wells differently. We alternate how aggressively we clean them. We pull the pumps every other year and really do a full cleaning and full rehab of the wells. That's in FY26 and FY27. We leave all the equipment in place and chemically surge the wells, so that's a little less expensive. So that's why I see that kind of drop off this year. But you know, every winter we go through a process to make sure our wells are nice and healthy for large consumption time of year in the summer. And environmental service budget went down quite a bit. Because we had the lead service line DEP program that was full reimbursement by DEP, but it had to go through our budget. That was $120,000, so that's why they dropped off so much. We do have about $100,000 in that budget for water resource management, which is has a contribution to Clean Lakes Committee for FY27. From a capital standpoint, for the most part, it's water main work, and we're at a spot now financially where we actually take on these projects without borrowing. So we're looking at Warren Street, which was obviously from Parley right down to King Street, about $1.1 million project to complete that. We'll do that with our retained earnings, and then some smaller projects. White Street's missing a piece of water main, and hopefully some. We have a lot of old pipe in the system, a lot in the lake area. Try every year, try to pick away at some of those with our own staff. So that's the capital project. Any questions?
Well, just before you leave water, just an update on the new well and the Boxborough project. I mean, how is that going? Getting close?
Yeah, we've expended almost $9 million on those two projects, two different contracts, one project. We probably got 3 to 4 left to expend. We did secure the $6.5 million from Mass DOT. We've also received, the rest of it goes through the SRF program at 0% loan, but we've also received a $4 million grant from EPA. But it's a little tricky how to receive those funds because they're for disadvantaged and small communities, which Littleton and Boxborough don't qualify for that. but the condo associations do. So we've been working with EPA, DEP, Town of Boxborough, Town of Littleton, to try to figure out how those funds flow. So we'll still end up borrowing the money, but the $4 million should come back, in lieu of the betterment payment from those associations. There'll still be a betterment process because there's some properties that won't get those funds from the federal government.
In timing, when do you think?
They need to get, that funding needs to be out by, I think it was October of '28. So that $4 million will flow pretty quickly. I think it'll be pretty similar to how we did the sewer project. So probably in August, the Board of Commissioners will commit the betterments, and then we'll work with the Town of Boxborough, getting them on the tax bills, and as you guys know, you've seen the IMAN, we have to work through Town of Boxborough on collection of the betterments. It's different than sewer because the water department's got funds to support those payments until we receive them. And $4 million from EPA is gonna really help with that.
Thank you.
As far as the project should be done hopefully by the fall of this year, well pipe work. Okay. The next slide is just really our 5-year financial plan, and kind of has all our capital projects in there, our O&M budget. I won't go over all the numbers here, but really the number that we like to watch is to make sure we keep our capital projects funded, make sure we're covering our debt, make sure our rates are high enough, and then we look at the bottom number, and we continue to float around $5 million in our reserve account, which is a lot better than the $140,000 we had in there when Scott Edwards took over, so from Savas. So financially, the department's in great shape. If you guys review this, if there's any questions, always feel free to let me know. Next one is just our proposed town meeting article. $6.8 million coming from rates. We do still have that small betterment piece that comes from the point for that project from 15 years ago. We will be pulling some funds in from the enterprise fund to support the water main works. But, the typical article for us.
Is that basically the end of the betterments from?
The only betterment we have is the one through the point, and I think there's
That's
5 years
from
left
the
on that.
point. Is that basically it?
Yeah, about 5 more years on that. That's really it on water. Any questions on that? Want to jump to our favorite subject, sewer?
Sewer.
Yeah.
Love sewer.
Yeah. I loved it yesterday when we had a frozen pipe over 495. That was fun. So just like FY '26, we're still taking a lot of stabs at the operating budget because it's so flow dependent. And for instance, the chemicals were up 350%, but we have to feed it a chemical called Micro C that keeps the bugs alive. With no flow, it needs more Micro C. So there's a need to get flow to the plant. We've been open for business since right around December 4th or 5th. We've notified everyone in the district that they can connect. We know that there's about 17 or so people that are working towards that. Obviously, the old IBM buildings had their infrastructure work done as part of one of the town grants. So they can connect at any point, and Northern Bank is another one that's probably really close, and Housing Authority too. No one's connected yet other than Hager Homestead in the town, but hopefully once the weather breaks, we'll have some more connections, bring us some more flow, and then the plant, it's a lot easier to operate and hopefully less expensive in certain areas. In other areas, the pumping electricity is more expensive. But really the big drivers here, utilities are, it's gas and electricity. You that have seen the plant understand there's a lot of equipment in there that runs on utilities. Subject services is pumping the tanks, chemicals we talked about. Equipment is just maintaining the equipment that's in that plant. Insurance obviously jumped up because now we got to insure that building. Outside services is just for things that need to happen at the plant that didn't happen during construction. Computer systems is we have a contract with Veolia, who maintains and operates and made all the filter equipment, so they actually can stay on with us and support that. The employee benefits and one sewer employee. with other wages going to people that assist. And then the big one, the debt payment, which went down.
Did you have one full-time employee that?
One full-time, some of, like my time gets broken into that, others that assisted, but it was really one full-time employee, making that plant run. All of our water department employees are licensed to work on both. When we did contract negotiations, that's something that we worked out with the union to make sure that they were licensed in both areas and can work in both areas. But yeah, there's one full-time employee, it's sole responsibilities around that plant. This budget that you saw, we work very closely with Kim and Robin on trying to figure out how we're gonna pay for this. Because obviously the town is still really the only user. So we anticipate $400,000 coming from the town for the O&M, not counting the debt. $100,000 being transferred out of our enterprise fund. So if you remember 5, 6, 7 years ago when this got set up, the sewer department runs on an enterprise fund. Every year that funds go in there, we don't spend them, it falls back to the enterprise fund. So we do have, I think, around 150, 160 grand in our enterprise fund that really has no use at this time. So we're gonna put it into our budget to help support it. And then we do anticipate having some rates come in next year. So it was like $98,000 in rates that we project for next year.
But that fund, that's unsustainable, right? I mean, that's a sort of a one-time use for those funds.
Yeah, and I hope they don't use it when it falls back to the enterprise
Right,
fund,
no,
but
so, okay.
with the unknowns of operating this plant with so little money, we thought it'd be better to at least get them into the budget, and if we need them, they're there, and if we don't need them, they fall back into our fund.
Good.
Yes, we need rates, we need flow.
Yep.
Everything gets better with flow for everybody. And then the debt piece, we're going to be pulling $840,000 out of the betterment account. Last I saw that we have about $1.5 million in there, but also the February 1st was when the real assessment hit, so I'm sure that counts a lot, hopefully a lot higher now. But the project's fully assessed, so everyone should start, February 1st should start paying their assessment on it.
Just from an operational standpoint, the town and Hager basically generate 8,000 to 10,000 gallons a day. It's been that way forever.
Yeah.
The next wave of flow coming in is the same, more, less?
I mean, I think you have probably 30,000 gallons in the district already kind of there without any development, but they gotta connect.
Right.
Per legislation, they have 2 years to connect, so 2 years from December.
2 years from when?
Well, we made it available, so December 4th or whatever, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the 30,000 in the district includes what, the municipal plus this,
I think it was 30,000 on top of municipal.
okay, on top of
Yeah.
what's, okay, so, all right, so then in 2 years you'd be running 40,000 plus, if we get lucky and get something out of 550, basically.
And I think 30,000 is a good number for us as far as keeping the bugs alive, and that's what it seems the engineers think. So if we can hit that 30,000 number, I think our chemicals cost will always come down.
And how do you expect to charge those customers? Because
We have a rate
there's
right
no
now,
way.
yeah, it's 2.5 cents a gallon's our rate.
Okay.
Hager's been connected for years now, so they've been paying that rate, which is comparable to surrounding communities. You know,
So the bottom line is the town is basically on the hook for $400,000 plus inflation until 550 really gets rolling.
Yeah, I mean, we have that spreadsheet that kind of guesstimates when that switch happens.
Right.
I can send it back to Kim or Rob.
We have it all in this folder for
Okay.
that next, so.
I don't think it's, we don't need, we only need a piece of 550 to,
Uh-huh.
for that switch to happen. I forget where it's at.
But in any event, it's 3 to 5 years out before there's major
I think that's,
cut
I think that's a
to
good
that
assumption.
400. So just in terms of budgeting, and for us to be thinking about it, is a $300,000 to $400,000 nut that's sitting there that we can't do anything about for the next number of years. Okay, good. Thank you.
Any questions? Save them all for Tim. All right, well, thank you.
So I'll go through this sheet real quick, if you go to the beginning.
Sure.
Can you make that bigger for the old folk in the room? I can't read it. Okay, so the total cost of the sewer project was the $48,929,000. We had 3 pieces of the project that were excluded, and those are the 3 there for the $6.2 million. And then all the offsets were the ARPA funds, the loan forgiveness, the Mass Works. So the actual assessment that we gave was the $25,959,000. That was assessed. Go to the next slide.
Robert, can you go back for a second?
Yeah.
I just want to, this guy often gets overlooked, but, you know, Erica, Rooks, Robin, Kim, I don't think this shows how complicated from a financial standpoint this project was. Making sure that DEP was happy, the SRF program was had federal eyes on it. This was not a simple project from a financial standpoint, and those 3 ladies did a fantastic job making sure that all these things fell where they were supposed to. Anybody that's worked with DEP and the financial team can understand that, how complicated it is.
So, okay, this next slide, the debt that we actually issued for the sewer in total was the $31,800,000. What we assessed was $25 million because of all the offsets. So the rule is, with the assessment or betterment funds, whatever you want to call them, we can only pay the percentage out of the betterment funds that were assessed, not the total principal. So that's the 81.63% that we can pay out of the betterment funds. So next slide. This is the debt schedule. It breaks down, the top 3 are the excluded debt that we had to come up with, and the last one, the Clean Water Trust, is mostly where the betterments came from. So that's all the debt out through FY30. This is the total debt service. The max possible is the next line of what we can actually pay out of betterment. The next line is what we used this year in FY26 was $300,000 because we didn't have a lot of money there yet because we had just established this. In FY27, our plan is $840,000 in betterment funds, and the amount that's not covered is that $989,000. And by FY28, we should be able to use the full amount of the 80% assessment out of betterment funds. So the top line here is the collections that we should get from betterments, assuming everybody is on a 30-year plan. We've estimated out 30 years that everybody's spreading the debt out, and then what our usage is here underneath that, how we're going to use the betterment funds. And then the assessment balances, this is what how people have signed up. So 30-year apportionments was 66 parcels, 2 were 20, 1 parcel was 15 years, 1 parcel was 10, and 2 were 5. 12 parcels paid in full, and all of the sewer betterments are attached to the Q3 and Q4 tax bills. Our current, the current balance right now in that account is the 1.1. So we need the betterment funds from this year before we can vote next year to pay that portion of the debt. So we'll keep a close eye on collections of those accounts.
So in the February bill, for example, we billed probably just a little over $1 million. Since
Correct.
it's split in 2.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Right. That's
Questions on the betterment? I mean, this is on us until and start seeing stuff, so it's a long way down, we're gonna be dealing with this.
Which isn't a surprise. We knew this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Thanks, Mike.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Yes. Will do.
So we're gonna be looking for the same amount of funds that the water department's getting?
Yes.
We'll have the most pristine conservation properties in the whole state. For those of you that don't know, I think I know everybody over here. I'm Tim Pearson, I'm the conservation agent, fulfilling Amy Green's shoes. So, let's jump right into it. Some of our major accomplishments that we've had this last fiscal year. We've had 61 public meetings, 29 permits issued, closed out, 19 other administrative actions taken during those meetings. We've had a survey completed at Webster Woods and had bounds installed. We have completed our Cloverdale ADA Trail boardwalk turnaround and parking area improvements. The purpose of that project was to enhance the accessibility of the main boardwalk at Cloverdale. We have had numerous treatments of invasive plant species done, mostly ones that we have already had previous treatments for, and then an additional one at Bumblebee where we noticed that there was spotted knapweed that had taken foothold there. We continue to give the vernal pool education talk. We gave that to the Littleton Gardeners Club. We organized a seminar that Mass Wildlife came in and gave on coexisting with black bears. We have put in many hours restoring the Newtown Hill Barbara Chapin Community Garden because it was in desperate need of some rehab. And then we have completed over 115 site walks and inspections for projects that have been active. Okay. Before I even get into this, I just want to say the narrative that you're seeing in the packet, it needs to be updated and revised before it is accurate. So some of the numbers that are noted in there may not be consistent with the budget or the money items that you're seeing below. So, with that said, we're looking to the conservation agent, the hours are going to be consistent, 40 hours this fiscal year, we're looking for another 40 next fiscal year. Assist agent, like Nick said, water department is funding 8 hours of Lauren's salary. We are funding 32 hours, we're looking to keep that consistent next fiscal year, and then anticipating to request in FY28 to fund those 40 hours entirely within conservation's budget. The office coordinator, Heidi, which we share with Board of Health and Facilities. Prior to Heidi taking on that role, we had split an office coordinator with Board of Health, and it was 50-50. We were funding 20 hours. With Heidi, we are only funding 4 of her 40 hours per week. Can you back up just 1 minute there? I didn't get to the expenses. Okay. We initially requested $20,000, a little north of $20,000 for land management. A lot of stuff is, open space needs and invasive species treatments, among a few other things. Office costs have stayed consistent generally consistent with how much we had in fiscal year 26. And then lake management was an additional cost that we had not previously had funded Clean Lakes Committee had dealt with the oversight of lake management issues. And so we had requested that $123,000 for invasive species, aquatic invasive species treatments at Long Lake and Forge Pond, as well as lake management plans for Long Lake and Forge Pond as well. Spectacle Pond is funded by the water department, since they have the well over there. They have an interest in funding those projects. So here you can see the revised budget, and the main difference of the two being that we met with Robin, Jim, Kim, and Michelle, and we talked about cuts, and we talked about CPC and some of the items that we were requesting funds for under land management, mainly the boardwalks. We're seeing as items that we could apply for funds through CPC, which we've received funds from CPC for boardwalks in the past. And so that reduced the number quite significantly by about $10,000. And then there were the lake management items, which we were also asked to submit CPC applications to fund. That being said, the Conservation Commission has worries that the CPC isn't a shoo-in, right? And so with it not being a shoo-in, the commission feels that we would like to request that those funds be allocated to us within our budget. And you can see the numbers right there for each of those items. We don't anticipate any additional personnel in our 5-year operating needs plan. The only thing that we anticipate, like I said before, is that we anticipate requesting an additional 8 hours to fund the totality of our assistant agent Lauren's budget, and then water would not have to fund the 8 hours that they are funding her this year and for FY27. We do not have any capital budget requests for FY27. In FY28, we anticipate that we will need to replace our vehicle that our department uses. We have a Ford Explorer that we use right now, and it is in pretty poor condition. I think we might be able to make it last another year. We'll see if that happens. But we got a quote for a Ford F-150 Lightning for the dollar amount that you see there, that 51 number. Any questions?
Thank you. The 150,000, can you go back to that slide, Tony, please? Have you approached CPC yet?
Yes, so we met with CPC last month, and they approved, I'm trying to think, they approved funds for the Long Lake management plan to be done, or to be funded. They have not yet approved funds for the Forge Pond management plan, or the invasive species treatments for either of the water bodies.
So the Long Lake, where's the article we did last year? $30,000 for the Clean Lakes Committee to spend for projects. That's it was kind of open-ended, right?
Yep.
Do you know if Clean Lakes Committee has intention of spending that money?
I'm not sure the status of that. In addition to these costs, we anticipated spending, they have, and we confirmed this with Carolyn Mueller, that they have $20,000, or Forge Pond specifically has $20,000 that could be applied towards herbicide treatments.
So the money that they received from CPC from last year, they still haven't spent?
There's some leftover money, yeah, 20,000 for Forge. I don't think there's any other leftover costs that could be applicable for invasive species treatment at Long Lake. And none for, no CPC funds have been allocated for management plans.
Okay. So these projects, you see them as ongoing projects? It's more annual costs than
So
anything?
with the management plans, most of the items in there are to develop a baseline for the water body health, which is very useful to have that historical data going forward. And then really the one thing in there that would, and it wouldn't be the same, it wouldn't be the same cost, I think it would be reduced, is for the water quality testing, and that's more of a monitoring, ongoing maintenance type item.
I think at the little meeting you had with us, some of us, we brought this up to get this money put into your operating budget is probably not going to happen. The best way to get funds is through the capital plan.
Okay.
And so if we submit these things and add them to our capital plan, because it's just separate funds, you know, there's more available on this side.
Right.
On the operating budget side.
Yeah.
You have a better chance at getting these things approved if we did it that way. So if we can get some idea, maybe the commissioners can get some idea from CPC what they really intend to fund, and if you can get that answer to us sooner than later, because we'll be talking capital on Saturday, just so we have an idea of what's in front of us for capital for the committee. Also, that 30,000 from last year, it's open-ended for Clean Lakes. If you can tap those funds, or have the Clean Lakes Committee tap those funds for some of these projects, that's gonna help. Okay. And we can discuss as a board, I think the best way, whether to make it a capital project specifically for these things, or to make it another open-ended article with funds in it for certain things. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I didn't know if the Clean Lakes Committee already had plans to spend that 30,000. I just wasn't sure of the status of that. I will say, after our initial meeting with CPC to go over these items, like I said, they approved the Long Lake Management Plan, the funds for that. Get the sense that they're on board with the Forge Pond Management Plan. And at least the idea of it, the main concern with the Forge Pond items is whether or not Westford is going to be splitting those with us. And if they're not, do we look at only having a management plan done and invasive species treatment done on the Littleton side of the lake? So there's, I still have to, I haven't heard from the Westford Conservation Agent on if that's gonna be feasible. So my understanding is that Westford CPC has gotten to the point where they consider any aquatic invasive species treatment maintenance, and so they don't allocate funds to that anymore. I'm not so sure what they would think about the management plan funding that happen. With the Long Lake invasive species treatment, there was just some concern from some of the Clean Lakes Committee members about wording, whether or not the scope of the work is going to be confined to herbicide treatment, or if it should be expanded to include mechanical stuff. So the Clean Lakes Committee members met with Conservation last night and sorted through that stuff. But you get the sense that the CPC is on board to road to funding the invasive species treatment at Long Lake.
Okay. So you also have the $10,000 of the old Clean Lakes budget in your budget now.
Yeah.
So what's that money going to be used for?
That could be used as a a contingency, you know, in case some of these costs. So I took these costs, specifically the lake management plan costs from Spectacle Ponds management plan that they had put together and done this past year. And increase the amounts to conservatively account for inflation. But there's, you know, there could be some unexpected costs that $10,000 would cover. And same with the invasive species treatments, taken from Spectacle Ponds herbicide treatment contract that they had done this past year. And accounted for, I know Forge Pond has, I'd say, similar quantities of invasives to Spectacle Pond. They're in just as bad shape. Long Lake has a little bit less, so even though it says that we're requesting more for Long Lake, even though it's in less bad shape, we were actually counting on that $20,000 that CPC has from previous year's CPC funds. So we were counting on $55,000 total to spend on Forge Pond.
Were you, for Forge Pond, were you looking at, when you were budgeting for that, were you budgeting for the whole pond?
The whole pond.
You were, okay.
Yep.
So that would potentially be split with Westford if we.
Yep.
That's something we're gonna be able to help reaching out to the select board there too, because I know that they hit some override issues with their budget last cycle, so I don't know if that's one of the things that was being discussed with being dropped, or they didn't drop their dredging budget, did they?
CLC or Westford?
Westford.
Honestly, I'm not sure.
I guess, to me, and this is more of a question for the select board administration and maybe Conscom here, who's driving the bus? We've got a Clean Lakes Committee that's been playing in the water for now years. Not a whole heck of a lot has come out of it. We have Conservation Commission stepping up, bringing $158,000 forward. From a policy standpoint, from a management standpoint, who should be driving this bus? Because we have too many fingers in this pie right now. So, and certainly isn't us, but as Joe taxpayer, I'm saying, okay, now what?
I think moving it under conservation was the first big step. Saying whether
So it's officially been moved to conservation.
Operations are under conservation, I would put it that way. I think
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Clean Lakes
I
is
missed that. So
providing a
it's-
lot of institutional knowledge and a lot of good advice
So does Clean
on what needs
Lakes
to be done.
become a
but-
subset of conservation, or do they work for conservation? Are they dissolved?
It
Well, it's a
requires,
committee.
it requires a town meeting action to dissolve Clean Lakes, but
Okay.
I don't think there's any appetite to do that just right now.
Okay, just so that we don't have too many atoms bouncing around in
Yep.
this
Yeah.
molecule. Okay,
Yep, understood.
thank you.
CPC sees their funds, and using them, whether you're talking about the management plan, as meeting the criteria of using CPC funds for community preservation purposes. That maintenance in the past has been kind of,
Yeah, it's my understanding is that it kind of varies town to town depending on their CPC. Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong. Did they vote on the eligibility for all four?
So the management plan for Long Lake was voted on, and the remaining three applications were heard, but there wasn't any action taken. The CPC, for the most part, is supportive of Clean Lakes or lake activities, aquatic invasives, management plans. Having it be an ongoing thing might be an issue, because then it could potentially be seen as maintenance. That's that kind of gray area. At the same time, the committee wants to preserve funds for future open space purchases as well. So we don't want to siphon valuable CPC dollars off in large quantities yearly, I would imagine, because it would take away from our purchasing power down the road. But certainly, projects like this, I think the committee is very supportive of. If it came back year after year, I can't gauge, what that could potentially look like. But this year, I think, if I were to take the temperature of that committee, I would say it's generally pretty supportive of these proposals.
So I guess, Andrew, if we could iron that out with CPC as much as you can. I know they're probably not meeting the next couple of days, but.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think the next meeting will be, it's always the third Wednesday of the month, so it'll be mid-February. But we'll have an answer at that meeting, hopefully, on all remaining 3 applications. But beforehand, like I said, it's very hard to take an accurate, up-to-date temperature of the committee, but based off of our one last week, I'd say the committee seemed pretty supportive of the applications.
So if it's gonna get tougher and tougher for CPC to approve these things because it's becomes maintenance,
Exactly.
then let's start to figure out a way to, get it into the capital budget. It's not gonna get into the operating budget.
Yeah.
We would have to cut $150,000 from somewhere else to get it to you right now, so.
Yeah.
You have better options to go to the capital plan to get those funds. So that's, when it comes time next year, Tim, capital request comes around, make sure you get it on there. Make sure you put it in, what you're gonna need for each year in the 10 years.
Okay.
As an estimate.
Yep.
Just so we can stop planning for it. Does everybody want to dictate for the group? Sounds like the easiest way for me.
Well,
to get this
but I
done.
also think there is a big gray area with CPC, so if it is something that, obviously, it's gonna be something that has to be bridged over years to migrate to what you're talking about. It's nice to know what that budget has to look like, what that capital expense is gonna be, but we're not supposed to be using capital for the year-to-year routine expenses either, correct?
But he said this is just giving a baseline.
The lake management plan, the invasive species treatments are presumed to be ongoing. I mean, all of these aquatics that we're treating are what I don't know if it's the state that considers it, non-eradicatable aquatic invasive species. So the idea being, throw funds at it now and over time, the need, it'll diminish the populations, they'll have to throw less and less money at it.
So even if it's an ongoing thing for a little while, maybe a capital article, an article itself specifically for invasive species treatment, load it up, they spend it as they need it, that type of thing. You know as well as I do, putting that kind of money into the operating budget, it's gonna be harder and harder to support.
Do you know how much we have in the open space bucket? No.
I think it was around the 600K range, but that's just me throwing wild numbers at you guys.
It's just the open space bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do have a fair amount in undesignated as well, but we try not to dip heavily into that just because if there's a big rec project or a big housing project or historical, we don't want to deplete those funds. So it's always good to have that reserve rolling.
Makes sense.
So if the commissioners are taking over the management of the Clean Lakes from the committee, can you have some conversations with them about that $30,000 article from last year? How, I guess now you intend to spend that with their advice maybe?
Absolutely. Yeah, we can certainly, meet with them and determine, where and when we're going to use those funds. They are pretty restricted to Forge Pond and aquatic invasive plant control. It is flexible in terms of the methods, but it's invasives 100%.
The $30,000 from last year's article, it wasn't specific to anything.
I'm fairly certain that was aquatic invasive plant control over at Forge, if I'm remembering correctly.
This is, you're talking about the CPC article or no?
No.
No, that's why.
Oh, sorry. Oops.
There was an article at town meeting last year, $30,000 for the Clean Lakes Committee.
Oh, gotcha.
And you're saying there's 20,000 still there, right?
There's 30, as far as I know, there's still 30,000.
20,000 is a separate CPC, was a separate CPC.
So we'll have to talk to Clean
funding
Lakes and
project.
find out what the status of that 30K is.
Yeah,
Yeah. Fair enough.
and if we can apply it to some of this,
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah, right.
Long range, we do need to look at it, just like we mow the fields, you know, that's an operational expense. You know, at some point, this is going to be an operation, if we want to continue to operate under a management plan, it's going to be an operational budget item. I can't see us getting around it. We definitely can't keep tapping CPC.
Well, I'm not talking CPC, I'm
Yeah,
talking about
okay.
setting up a separate article like we did last year with the 30,000.
Yeah.
They spend it, it rolls for at least 3 to 5 years. They spend it as they need it, that type of thing. We can talk about that Saturday, when it comes down.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Tim or the commissioners? No? Thank you. Thank you.
Good job.
Good job, even though you are a Dolphins
That should have come
You
up
should be
first.
saying.
Where was that first?
fan. I should have said that
Take
first.
some pity.
Even, I know the guppies.
You should tell about the Seahawks incident last week.
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay,
Thank you.
Good night, thank you.
Francis?
Some major accomplishments for the past year. In July 1, we went from fully paper to paperless for all of our permit applications, about 21 total. We also did a lot of work with the regional opiate planning, so we're going to be pooling resources with 6 other towns, make a strategic plan to do a regional approach to substance abuse efforts. We also conducted a large-scale comparable fee schedule across local boards of health in Massachusetts. We did about 16 towns total. And we developed a fully new fee schedule based on those towns' data. We also continued to update our Board of Health regulations and make amendments where appropriate. Our goals for the upcoming year, we received about 50+ years of archive files from the Neshoba Boards of Health. We have been working to try to digitize all of those and make it into an online platform where residents and business owners will be able to pull down their own documents whenever they want, instead of having to come into the office. So we'll continue that work during the year. We also talked about looking at social media more and making a landing page kind of dedicated to public health education and awareness issues throughout the year. We're also discussing internally in land use about developing the guides for homeowners, contractors, and prospective business owners. A lot of times they don't know where to start and they kind of need a roadmap. So what we're going to be working on over the next year is creating roadmaps for all the divisions within land use and how they cross over. So people have a better idea of where to go and it cuts down on time and helps them go in the right directions. We'll be doing a lot of the same for things like septic, which can be very confusing to homeowners as well. So we're proposing for the operating budget for FY27 a $10,000 increase in professional services, having leave coverage to the town of Concord through their health director for $1,500. Requested $400 increase in expenses, and requested $450 memberships for Board of Health members. After discussion, we did cut back on $450 decrease in Board of Health memberships, $200 in travel expense, $200 in tools and equipment, for a total of $850. We do anticipate having more inspectional needs over the next 5 years. I don't foresee any capital requests coming up in the next 5 years.
can you go back?
What are you using for a vehicle payment?
I just use my card, we just reimburse.
Mileage.
What is leave coverage?
So leave would be if I went on a vacation or birth of a child, something like that. We don't have any staff that can cover any emergency situations after hours. So this amount would represent multiple situations that might happen, let's say Title V housing and food, which might require intensive hours. So that should cover $100 an hour, or I forget the amount of hours, but it would cover the worst case scenario.
And where does that sit in your budget, professional services?
So that'd be within the professional services.
So that line item is 68,500.
So 42 of that would be for the public health nurse, 25 for professional services, and 15 for leave.
Any other questions, Francis?
And they, as a board, along with the LPD and I think LFD, a few years back, we did kind of a deep dive into opioid awareness and had some speakers come to the high school. And I would just maybe tap into those resources and see if you can collaborating with other towns, which is fantastic. But just see if there's any institutional knowledge, within these two buildings, the police and fire.
We are right now, we're looking at some programs that already exist to tie into it, so it's just a very broad.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how it was. We were doing it then. It was trying to
Yeah, it'll bring it back.
pull it all together. Yeah. Good. Thank you.
On another note, I just wanted to thank you. I go around town a little bit and talk to different restaurants and the owners and just kind of see what they think of you. And they,
He's got a report card.
it's all positive. Not easy, but much more positive than dealing of the past.
No names. No names.
In the show, so just want to let you know that people are speaking well of you.
I've heard the same thing.
Thank you.
Gary visits all the restaurants.
I do. I'm not
You might
saying.
want to list.
Just the ones you like lists.
It's research.
The hobby.
You could take that inspection job.
So, if I may, the $450 in membership for BOH members, if we go to the next slide real quick, that was cut. I would like to see that actually put back into the budget. That actually goes to a place that we use and utilize for all of our legal questions for boards of health. And it's the Massachusetts organization, it's the boards of health. So we actually use that as a legal service to go get pre-adjudicated items that may come to, like, updating our well requirements and things like that. So that is actually where that $450 is coming in, is actually that membership.
Is that considered legal fees?
I wouldn't mind seeing that.
No, it's not a legal fee, it's an organization membership.
That's one of the benefits of being part of the organization.
Right.
Bless you.
Right.
And that's a board expense, or I would think that would be a Francis thing?
So
Yeah.
it's more meant for the boards of health in general than health department type of staff.
Do you have access to the same information?
Yes,
I mean, we're friendly with them, so.
but to get the access that we really need, we need to have a paid membership for that.
Was that when we just reduced to 200, 250, we get rid of it completely? We waived it, so it would be adding the 450 back, is the request.
Yeah. I'd like to see the other items added back in just because of how such a good job Francis is doing. So, travel goes to his driving his car around, tools and equipment.
membership already, Francis?
I do not, it's specifically for Board of Health.
And is that for one membership? the
So that'd be
450?
for
It's
one
just for
membership.
Okay, thank you.
It's for the entire board to use.
Okay, I just
And
didn't know
for-
if it was one membership, two memberships.
No, no, just one.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Anything else for Francis?
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Francis. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Good evening again, everybody.
Different hat, Andrew?
Different hat. So good evening, everyone. I'm here tonight with Superintendent T.C. Bailey and fellow Commissioner Carolyn Wheeler in the audience. So just to give a quick recap of some of our accomplishments this year for the department, we did continue expanding and improving our Sullivan Loop expansion area at Westlawn. We continued to develop and sell new grave space to the public to meet demands. Continued our very popular historic gravestone preservation program at Westlawn, luckily with CPA funding this time around. Very grateful for that. Using our seasonal staff position, we significantly improved operational efficiency this year. As with last year, having that third person during peak season is super helpful. I mean, it really takes a tremendous load off of our 2 full-time staff members to conduct office work and to meet with families, funeral homes. It's really key having them. We continued seeking our conditions assessment for the cemetery administrative building. That's been a little bit of a struggle to get somebody to actually give us a quote to get that work done. It seems to be a very niche thing for somebody to go into a municipal cemetery building and to assess it and let us know what's wrong with it. We've sent it to a number of firms, and unfortunately, nobody's bitten on it. So hopefully, we'll get a qualified firm to take us up on the job. And we did continue our ongoing tree and shrub health eval and replacement, as well as invasive plant control on site at Westlawn and the old burying ground. Some goals for FY27. We're going to continue implementing we would implement recommendations from the building conditions assessment once it's obtained. Hopefully we get it within this fiscal year, and it will guide our future improvements and the needs for that building. We're going to continue removing hazardous trees at Westlawn and the old burying ground, replacing them in kind with pollinator-friendly shrubs and trees. And we're also going to be removing invasive plants at both sites as well. We're going to continue the historic gravestone preservation program at Westlawn this upcoming summer with pre-allocated CPA grants from last calendar year. And we're hoping to continue that for years to come. We're going to continue maintaining compassionate service to families and visitors to Westlawn and working cooperatively and well with other departments, the townspeople, and anyone who really needs our help. We'll be improving departmental record storage accessibility. That's a big thing. A lot of times people come to us and they're like, hey, do you have this particular person at your old burying ground or at Westlawn? And we're always striving to make that information more readily available to the public, so they're not having to come up to the cemetery building and ask, especially historic records. We love our historic records. And we're going to continue expanding staff training and professional development among our 2 full-time staff members. And seasonal, it's a little tricky to maintain that same person year after year, but if we can get them back, we love developing their skills and continuing their professional development year after year. So this was our requested budget for FY27. In terms of collected wages, we had $184,416 proposed, expenses $31,200 for a total of $215,616. And the expenses go towards things like supporting our machinery, our truck, our building, and the grounds. So our revised budget did go down a little bit. In terms of wages, it did go down by about 1,000 to 183,416. And then our wage expenses were cut down to about 30,500, taking 700 out of office supplies. Office supplies for the department typically revolve around printings for lot sales. We like to supply individuals when they come to our department with plenty of information. So when you buy a grave lot, we're giving you a folder with everything under the sun that we can give you, just so that you're informed. And throughout the year, we do have to replace things like deed books and other really important vital records that the cemetery maintains, for hundreds of years at a time. So a cut in that area is a little tricky. We'll try to get by with it, but ideally, if we had our level funded budget, that would be best, but we're tightening our belts all around. So if we did wind up needing more, we, of course, would be back, but we'll try to manage with what we have in the revised. So this is just a quick overview, in depth, of our just staff salaries for the fiscal year. Cemetery superintendent, assistant superintendent, overtime, seasonal staff member, and longevity. And same thing with the expense budget detail. You can see we have a very small budget compared to other departments, and we try to use our resources very conservatively at the cemetery. We work with what we have, and I think we do a pretty good job managing overall what we are allocated. But for instance, water, we get about $1,000 to water the 2 cemeteries for the year. Vehicle repair and maintenance, we have a 2012 pickup truck. It's probably one of the oldest vehicles in town, but we'll get to that actually in our upcoming slide. Maintenance for that is picking up year after year. Software, 3,500, office supplies, building maintenance, and so on for a total of $30,500. So in terms of our 5-year operating needs from FY27 to FY31, we anticipate wage and benefit costs increases. We'll have a continued need for the seasonal staffing support. Like I mentioned before, having this third person online is really key for the success of the department. We've got a great crew. Our 2 full-time staff members, TC and Ian, do an amazing job, and they can get by, but for us to really do an amazing job, that third person to help during peak season really helps tremendously. And then in terms of cemetery software and technology upgrades, we will down the road have to transition to a new mapping system and data system for grave lots. It's actually really expensive for that. At our last meeting, we did touch upon the fact that it will probably be between $8,000 and $13,000 down the road to transition. To transition our existing data to a new platform once the company or the vendor that we're using phases out that service. We don't really have a solid timeline of when that might be, bless you, but just something to keep in our back pocket in terms of a future need. And then, like I mentioned before, there's always office equipment and record management supplies, which are really key for our department. So in terms of a capital budget request for this fiscal year, we did ask this time around, as we have for the last, I want to say maybe last 5 years, for the replacement of our aging cemetery service truck. Over the last 10 years, it's had issues, everything from transmission replacement to, you name it, rust, brakes. It's really one of those trucks or department vehicles that if that truck fails tomorrow, the cemetery doesn't have a vehicle to use anymore for anything, whether it's moving equipment, getting from cemetery to cemetery, field burying ground, over by Shattuck Street. We would be in a crisis situation without that truck. So we did ask this time around, again, for $78,000 roughly for a state-of-the-art, reliable new utility truck for the department to meet our needs. And then, as I mentioned before, we do have RFQs out for the cemetery administrative building rehab, which is still pending, and hopefully we can get that in hand this fiscal year and get some results and guidance as to what we'll need for future capital expenses. And then in terms of the capital year, just to explain, 5-year capital plan, sorry, to expand upon that a little bit more, we already touched on the cemetery administrative building upgrades and improvements. We floated in years past potential need for a mini excavator to do site work and grave excavation as the cemetery constrains, but that's just still a very rough idea of something that the town might need in the next 5-10 years. Nothing crucial or immediate by any means. And then we've got our historic gravestone preservation project, which we would love to see go year after year, as it has for the last 8 or 9 years. We'd love to see that go in perpetuity for the time being, just because the townspeople really appreciate the preservation of the historically and culturally significant monuments at Field Burying Ground in West Lawn. Yeah, and that's essentially it for the 5-year capital plan. And that's it.
I had a couple
Yeah.
questions for you.
Sure,
Under the
absolutely.
109,000 in FY30, that's the mini excavator in the capital plan?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Which again, I can't see that being even within that 5-year, or sorry, that 3-year period. It's just something that we'd love to keep on the horizon just in case, because we don't want to wind up in a situation down the road where we can't get equipment in between gravestones.
This is the 4th year you've asked for.
No, at least, I was about to say, so I know you're saying it's not crucial, you know, on the horizon, but this is coming in front of us now, maybe at least 4 years.
The mini excavator?
It did, it
Yeah,
has.
it's under FY30 for now.
But I mean, in previous cycles, you've even shown the uses and why, the value of it and why it would make sense. It would buy itself back over time. So there was a lot of plans for it, so I don't want to just kind of push it off on the horizon, because it is something that you could probably speak to it more, TC.
There are situations that arise where we need to borrow a mini from the water department, and they've been very accommodating in that. It's kind of tough to ask though, because theirs is just big enough that we can't pull it with our truck, so it takes 2 of their guys to drop it and then come get it later.
Would the
The
new
other
truck-
option-
Sorry, would the new truck be able to pull it?
No, not the way it's spec'd out.
Okay.
It would be, you need a heavy CDL truck to pull the one they have.
Okay.
There is a smaller one available that would actually be better for cemetery.
Mhm.
The other alternative is to move headstones, if you had to. We have a device, like a pincher that goes on the end of the backhoe bucket. We can do it. I don't like it.
Sure.
If you were to drop it and take a chunk out of the corner, now the cemetery's on the hook for somebody's family headstones. Not ideal. We've done it a couple times though.
You also have to dig graves by hand.
Had to finish a couple by hand, just couldn't reach.
The preservation gravestones.
Yes.
I know, I think it might have been last year, I was surprised to find out that the individuals that do this are well-seasoned, I will say.
Yeah, yes.
Is there a plan, do they have a younger group coming up?
Succession
Or are you
plan.
going, thank you. Or you actually been able to look at what our future is? Because when this ends,
Yeah, no,
which seems
absolutely.
not to be too far off.
I actually did meet with Jim and Minxie, who work for, actually it's their firm, Fannin and Lerner. They do amazing, incredible work. They indicated to me that they intended to keep this going, as long as possible. I do know that they have a crew with them that works very closely in every aspect of the preservation work. So I would imagine that that would keep going, and we would want to continue that relationship as long as possible. They do amazing work, and we appreciate everything they do for us. They're just very comprehensive and just really care. I mean, every time I meet with them, they tell me this is one of their favorite towns to work in, just because of our staff and with the lovely townspeople. So,
Was the Eagle Scout project, that was also restoration, but not the same, or was that different?
Similar detail.
So we actually did have an Eagle Scout come to us on Monday night.
Okay.
They're actually looking to place some more veteran grave flag holders,
Uh-huh.
which we love. I mean, we want to see every veteran's grave at West Lawn with
Yeah.
one, so they're able to have that flag for Memorial Day and other holidays throughout the year. But yeah, we're really excited to work with that scout. Really grateful that they're offering to do it along with Lou Sirocco. Is the best.
I think it was a medallion project that
There
was done
there was, that was,
last year.
that was last year.
Yeah.
They came and, I forget that young man's name, but he was a nice kid, and he did really good work. They put in a few Saturdays, edged them all out, and, refreshed the area around them, made them a lot more visible, which was great. They did great
Different scope of work though than what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Andrew? Andrew, separately, you and Carolyn, the trust fund commissioners met yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. Whatever.
I don't know what date it is either.
Yeah. I think we'd like to probably schedule a meeting with the cemetery commissioners to talk about the trust funds with
That'd be
you.
lovely.
How much we can, if we can, apply something to the building when it does come through. And then talk about some deposits into the funds
That'd be
from the
lovely.
saving bonds.
Yeah, actually, this past Monday, we did discuss having on our next agenda, or actually maybe a couple months from now, taking revenue from lot sales and adding to perpetual care, and keeping that going, just so there's, actually revenue going in, and we're not just solely, relying on
So
earnings.
when you do talk about this meeting, if you put us on your agenda, we'll come to your meeting.
Okay.
Okay?
That'd be lovely, thank you.
Just let us know. Anything else for cemetery?
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Carolyn, while you're here, any updates on CPC, what projects you're looking at this year? And
Yeah, most of them will come up in February, March. We have a lot of lake projects. I got it here in the middle of the conservation meeting, but we've already approved our invasive for
Long Lake Management.
the Long Lake Management Plan. We approved to recommend to town meeting. The Forge Pond ones, we had sent them back to conservation, so we'll expect those back in February. Actually, Lauren sent me the projects today, so we have Forge Pond, Mattawanakie Management Plan, and then herbicide treatments for both Long Lake and Forge Pond, Mattawanakie. And then there's another invasive for Hartwell, the Hartwell property, Hartwell Conservation Property. What do they call it, terrestrial
Invasive plant
invasive
control.
plant control. And they also have 2 boardwalks coming in, those I think are gonna come in February. I can't remember the properties those are at.
I can't think of it either.
Yeah, so those are two smaller ones. We're still waiting on the Affordable Housing Trust. They're gonna wanna reimburse their LRAP program. They still have some money left over from last year, and I know there's some discussions on how much they'll need because they're looking at their policies. So we're expecting that to come through either February or March. And Maren Toohill, I think she talked to you guys during her budget hearing about a housing plan that will come through CPC. So we kind of discussed it really quick at our last meeting, but I don't see, there were no objections, so we told them to come ahead and come to that. I haven't heard from Park and Rec yet. I'll send another message out to Alicia of it. See if they have anything on the horizon, but I haven't heard of anything else.
Anything unofficially for Carolyn?
I'll send you an update once we have our next meeting.
Thank you. Robin, is this you? Patrick?
This is me, sorry, transferring, I'm tracking the time. Okay, so, Veterans Agent, they designated the town as a community last year, this year, I should say. Expanded department accessibility to 19 hours per week, launched new outreach initiatives, Veterans Spotlight Program on LCTV, and the Veterans Coffee Hour. The goals that were set for FY '27 is lead community and ceremonial events, maintain veterans memorials and veterans corner, pursue professional training, expand digital outreach, and deepen the community engagement. So this was his requested budget, the $29,872, and the $3,780 in expenses for a total of $33,652. I don't believe we made any cuts, correct? And that's not, there was any that, we didn't change any of his.
Nothing.
Nothing, so. He increased some of his lines, appropriately. They're doing, the plans to do a lot more this year in the veteran service budget, so. And, this is for benefits, the $10,000 goes to the, VA, and we went over with Michael the $120,000 in veterans benefits, and he was comfortable with that number. So, and that's it.
With this transition between veterans agents, from John to whoever now,
Yeah.
are those reports getting filed now?
Yes,
still?
actually on time, yep.
Okay. And the money coming in from the cherry sheet, is that reflecting of this higher budget for?
That's
benefits?
delayed, right, a couple of
But
years.
it's been delayed by
Yeah,
1 year.
1 year. But it's been going up
Mhm.
as benefits go up, okay.
Is he seeing an increase in requests?
It's, there has been an increase request from the current veterans agent predecessor as a result of his efforts. Right now, he is just reaching out and communicating while he goes through the training with a neighboring veterans agent, the neighboring town's veterans agent. He doesn't want, he's very conscientious about making sure that the wrong information is not relayed and all that kind of stuff. So, contact is continued, but any further action is
Yeah, I
pending.
was just wondering if prices going up like crazy.
Right.
You know, tends to, people that might be too proud to ask aren't quite as proud anymore when they're going to get behind it. So, yeah, it's a tough situation, but I was just, with inflation the way it's going.
Right. Right. Yep. Exactly.
Anything else? Skip down to the town administrator until she comes, so unless all you wanna.
I won't throw it here. Okay. Thank you. So hitting, we'll first hit some accomplishments over the past year. The TA's office coordinated with the select board, the school leadership, FinCom, and municipal staff to advance funding for the Shaker Lane School, including the special town meeting warrant article that was successful for the debt exclusion and ballot question. Assisted in the coordination that was a brainchild of the select board for a Spotlight Business program to highlight local businesses through the town newsletter and website. You may have seen some businesses that have appeared in that, and that is continuing forward. And it's going to kind of delve off into the town administrator's business visitation program, whereas I will be able to, which is further down at a bullet point, but it's going to complement that. So I will be able to get word out that if they're interested, happy to spotlight them also.
So Hugh, TA's office managed the planning, execution of special and annual town meetings, including warrant preparation, coordination of supporting materials, implementation of approved actions. We're able to the office coordinated with LCTV, the launching of the Select Board podcast, which is, some of you have been guests at multiple times. It's, and the listenership has increased dramatically. Is that right, Mark?
Yes.
Okay. TA's office was involved in oversight with the tennis courts and Wickham Field project, and that was a local contractor that was able to do that. Joe?
Cataldo.
Thank you, Mr. Cataldo. They did a great job. They did a absolutely fantastic job. So just waiting for the spring to just cross the Ts and dot the Is on just a few minor things to be done for the completion of the project. As we all know, the situation with the closure of the Neshoba Valley Medical Center, work with Chief McCurdy on the closure and advocacy for financial support to the region because of the closure. As a result of that, we were part of the region that have gotten multiple funding investments by the state for that. Initially, I believe it was approximately $250,000, and that could only be spent on training. It could not be spent on personnel-related overtime actions, but most recently with the $5 million investment by the Healy Driscoll administration, that there's more flexibility on the usage of those funds that the chief is overseeing. Assisted the select board in coordinating the selection process implementation of the charter review committee, and that is they're working very, very hard and tackling a number of issues as that continues. This was also the town's first full year of the monthly electronic newsletter to support resident communication and engagement on municipal programs and initiatives that were successful. Readership is steadily increasing. And one of the outstanding act, the hiring of our new assistant town administrator, Tony Souza, right here to my right. Absolutely, woo-hoo is right. We also, over the course of the year, we identified an internal team to assist staff in areas of budgets, procurement, payroll, grants, human resources area. That has worked out very, very well. If none of you are familiar with that, that is really something that there are people from within in town hall that if there's a particular department that is having difficulty with personal action forms or doing their budgets, the team will go and they will sit down and they will help the individual, help the department head, which is fantastic. Great teamwork, camaraderie. It's fantastic. I appointed a new finance director and assistant finance director / chief procurement officer, and they are to my left. Continued the TA business visitation program that is ongoing. And let me see, worked with facilities department. The creation of the work order system was launched and has been successful in the first year. And that is basically has cut down on direct phone calls that Eric was receiving when he first got here with requests. And now he's able to track them, prioritize them, and people can see where it is in the queue. Also, I'm a member of the Shaker Lane CM at Risk Pre-Qualification Committee, where we interviewed a number of different contractors that will be building the Shaker Lane School, and that was an excellent experience. We also coordinate, the office coordinates the bids for the infrastructure improvements using the Mass Work Grants funding at 550 King Street. We continue to support staff desire in training and certification programs. We coordinated fixing the unexpected mechanical problems at 36 King Street. And TAs, and this is something that is not on there, I've added a couple more. The TA's office drafted, an award-winning, third time, annual town report, according to MMA. What we want to do for goals going forward. I have to change mine too. And essentially, what we want to do is we want to continue involvement with 550 King Street and 410 Great Road Project. Plan for the potential town charter changes anticipated to be presented to the select board through the charter committee report. Continue the town administrative business visitation program, and also continue with the Shaker Lane Building Committee, and continue to support town employees in the success of their jobs. Looking at FY '28, there are some of the messages that we received, that you've all received, is some funding of support will be cut off, or I shouldn't say, maybe not so be abrupt as a cut off, but will be frowned upon after the FY '27. So we would like to be able to work with particular departments. For example, the library trustees had basically, and Sam, when he was here, he expressed. We have LCTV in FY '28. We want to try and identify, how we, what needs to be, what we can do there. And we're sitting down, the finance team, Tony and I are sitting down with them to discuss those identified shortfalls and potential solutions. And we want to coordinate with the select board on fulfilling their goals and continue drafting award-winning annual town reports. And last, we want to, Tony is started working, the office is going, we want to draft a town and school room rental policy. And we want to do that because there was a little bit of confusion on renting space out. We received word from bond counsel saying, as long as there's a bond on it, you cannot rent it out. But they did not finish that statement. So they basically said, oh, you can, when challenged, with what the answer they gave us when challenged, they said, oh, you can, but you have to have a policy in place. So that's what we're going to do, and try to do that, cross that T.
Jim, is that just an internal Littleton policy? It's not one of these things that has to go all the way to...
No, yeah, no, it's internal. I mean, yeah, exactly. And here we have the wages, 487 for the staff of 3.5 of us is $487,785. Expenses of $18,600 for a total budget of $506,385 was requested. It was reduced. We reduced it by of $8,000 hitting conferences and meetings, matching grant funds. Reduced the travel, but we did increase the dues and subscriptions because with the new ATA, he too is also members of different organizations such as I am, which expenses have gone down, and now it's $498,385. And there is nothing 5-year capital plan or 5-year operating needs going forward. I want to say, for town council, we want to say we level funded that. There was not a slide for that. My apologies, and that has been level funded at $280,000, working with Harrington and Heap.
Is that line inclusive of labor council, bond council, is it all under the same?
It's
So
not
it's all
not
that?
bond
Not
council,
bond council.
but is labor council.
Bond council's
Yes,
part
sir.
of the project, okay, yep.
Yes, sir.
We budget for bond council.
And their rate increases, it's more like every 3 to 5 years, is that what we've been seeing from them?
They haven't increased since I've been here, so I'm trying to keep that streak
I
going
remember
along.
the last one wasn't too long.
Just before you did.
Well, maybe they cut it, I don't remember.
Sure.
That happens.
Select board budget?
you wanna be part
Oh.
of that? That's good.
Hiya.
Right on time,
You
right?
guys are really ahead. I'm impressed.
It's Tony.
Good job, sir. I kind of wish that I'd come a little bit earlier. Is this one good?
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, members of Select Board, Finance Committee, and fellow residents of Littleton. I'm honored to present the fiscal year 2027 overview for the Parks and Parks, Recreation, and Community Education Department. Our mission is to enrich the lives of Littleton residents through diverse recreational, educational, and community-based opportunities. And we're committed to maintaining a safe, clean, and welcoming parks facilities to foster connection, inclusion, and well-being. So this year, our major accomplishments. So we continue to offer a wide range of recreational and educational programs designed for residents of all ages. In fiscal year 25, we delivered 374 programs serving 5,849 participants. That's around 73% Littleton residents and 27% non-residents. We continue to support children and families through key programs such as Camp T, Teen Adventures, Vacation Week programs, and Ski Club. Affordability remains central to our work through the Youth Scholarship Program and Holiday Helpers Program, which assisted 61 children with over 700 donated items in December of '24. We provided 10 special events and completed several important facility improvements. These included working with Classic Construction and others to do the renovations at 36 King Street, resurfacing of the basketball courts at 300 King Street, installation of an EV charging unit at 300 King Street, and major upgrades such as the Whitcomb baseball field, renovation and construction of 4 new tennis courts at the Littleton Middle School. These accomplishments reflect our commitment to high-quality, accessible recreation services for the town of Littleton. Okay. All right, so some of our goals that we have, thank you. Sadly, I do need the little zoom in these days, you know. So some of the goals that we have coming up for this upcoming year is, one of the issues that we have coming up is the advocation of the baseball fields at Shaker Lane. The rebuild and implementation of a field use plan that's going to serve that community for their sports needs and through that transition. That's something that we'll also have to figure out what we're going to do in the interim time as well, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. We are going to update our online registration software. So that is upcoming in this next year. We're working on an RFQ for that right now. And one of the big things that the Park Commission really wants to focus on this next year is just reviewing, updating, creating any sort of department policies that are either non-existent, we need to update and change. So that is definitely a big component of one of the things we're working on this year. I'll also be developing a strategic plan that's going to address space needs that we have, and that includes ADA and AAB access issues and improvements that we may need for recreation facilities, parks, or playgrounds. We always kind of throw this one on there to research any land opportunities if possible, and develop right of first refusal with town council. There's not a lot of land out there, so always looking. And develop a detailed maintenance and depreciation list for the department. We do have a lot of equipment That's something that we have not been able to get to yet, so that is extremely important for us to focus on this upcoming year. All right, so our requested budget. So the fiscal year 27 operation budget will continue to fund 2 full-time general fund positions, the director and the assistant director, including longevity pay where applicable. The 27 request maintains level funded compared to fiscal year 26 across most categories. Key expenses for the general fund include utilities for Long Lake Beach, Fave Park, and 300 King Street. Vehicle maintenance for our vans. We have an electric truck, a events trailer, and then we also have 3 12-passenger vans. Professional services will include porta potties, pest control, many other things, but that gives you an idea of, you know, what we're looking at there. And then also for special events, supporting 10 to 20 community events that are, sorry?
12.
Sorry, what did I say, 20? Yeah, you know, why not? Let's just add an extra 10 in there. Sorry, 10 to 12, thank you, Sal. Events that would be free to the public at no cost to the public, but there is a large cost to be able to put those programs on. All right, revised budget. So the revised budget reflects reductions in special events line that was dropped down just to be able to help out overall with the town balancing the budget. So with that, you know, we were talking about 10 to 12 special events. If we do 10, we may have to drop it down to 8 to 10. So we're going to figure out internally which ones make the most sense to kind of pull off the docket for the year. So we'll take a look at that. Professional services was reduced by $2,655. This was done because I had duplicated trash removal for 36 King Street, which was already included in Eric's budget. Facilities. So that easily was removed. We didn't need a double of that. So new, Tim Mahowski, our assistant director, has now accepted a job in Acton. He'll be the director for Parks and Recreation there in our next door neighbor town. And with that, then we'll be hiring for a new assistant director, which means that the 700 that we had for longevity, that can be taken out because we're not going to have anyone that will be applicable for that longevity for the assistant director position. Okay. All right. I guess we talked about these ones a little bit. So just some upcoming costs for the department. I had mentioned before, we're going to be updating our online software. Being able to start kind of from scratch and requires a little bit of investment on our side to be able to get it up and running. We've been with the old system for probably about 8 years now. So there's a lot of technology changes that have happened out there over the years, so it makes a lot of sense for us to upgrade. I already talked about the detailed maintenance and depreciation list for our equipment. So if there are items that potentially do need to be replaced, we will look at should that be incorporated into the capital request, or is that something that we would pay for out of the revolving? So we'll look at those things as we go into the next year. So we currently have right now we have 2 passenger vans. Tomorrow morning we will have 3. So the depreciation plan for that, we want to be able to work with that, but we have relatively new vehicles. Even our truck was recently replaced in 2023. So also the basketball courts were just completed as well, but they do suggest that those be resurfaced about every 5 years to keep them in good repair. So that's something that we would be looking at putting on in the future. We also have yet to get the maintenance schedule for the new tennis courts. But looking at that, that's something that we would want to be able to include that and make sure that we're keeping that facility at the best that we possibly can. Okay, so fiscal year '27 capital. So we had 3 items that were on here. The Park Commission had a discussion a few months ago, and we kind of reassessed and looked at some of these things. The season community pool has been on there for a while. However, that's something that we do not feel is fiscally responsible at this time. So, sorry, Gary. Someday, my friend, we'll get there.
Memorial Wilson.
yeah,
No, don't say that. Oh, my gosh.
Okay.
No way, sir. Yes, that's something that for the time being, till it makes sense to come back to that project, that we will take a look at that. So for now, that one's off. The 2 that the Park Commission did decide that were of higher importance were renovations to Fay Park. Mostly because that is a park that is not really accessible, and we really want to make it to be accessible. And then also a design for a dog park. That's one that's been on there for quite some time. So that being said, none of these are on the capital this year. So again, those will be things that we would add for the future. Okay. So these are just the ones that we had talked about earlier, about potential what could be coming. The only 2 that I did not talk about, that we have already gone through a majority of these, would be, we had talked about when we were creating or renovating 36 King Street, that there was a potential need for more space there, and the idea of possibly putting in a field house that would allow us to be able to have indoor turf or indoor basketball courts. But the reality with that one is that we want to hold on to figure out if that's actually needed once we have the actual design for Shaker Lane. So that may not be something that we need to add if we have all of the, gym space that is needed. One other thing that came up recently, again, with the Shaker Lane project is just revisiting the idea of potentially installing a septic system at Long Lake. We've tried a few times and have not had much luck. So, there's a possibility here with, the rebuilding of the septic system that potentially there could be an add-on that we could look into. So those are things that we would see for the next 5 years coming up. Okay. All right, so these are, last year I started going through and putting out the actuals for the revolving budget. So this is completely separate from the general fund. So everything that we were talking about before is on the general fund. This is the revolving. The revolving funds come from revenue that we get from folks that sign up for our programs, events, things like that. So what I wanted to do over the last couple of years is sort of break it out so that everyone could kind of see the breakdown of what we're looking at, the net being for each of the program areas. So this is just kind of a general overview from the actuals of fiscal year 25. We're in the actual of 26 right now, so that would be not really helpful to take a look at this moment. And the column that is on the right-hand side, those are items that we look at as indirect costs. So those, we do add a percentage into the programs to be able to cover all of those items. So just a further clarification on that. Okay. So with this is our actual for fiscal year '25 for our revolving budget. We do obviously get in a lot of revenue. Our programs are very well attended. We hire a lot of people to run those programs, so we do have a pretty high wage line and our yearly expenses. So the net for 2025 is around, is $221,771.11. I know that drives you nuts, Robin, I'm sorry.
No, I'm doing that to my computer, it's giving me a hard time.
So the, one of the questions that had come up was, why do we have a, about $200,000 net for that year? So, I wanted to go through a few things just to kind of explain, the reasoning for those things. So, during fiscal year '25 and '26, we did have staffing turnover that was budgeted, but resulted in lower wages and benefits, that we originally had budgeted. And the spending, we had more expenses for 2024, because we, in-house updated the, club space and the preschool space, on the second floor at 41 Shattuck Street. So being able to prep for programs, make sure that all of the items that are needed to support the staff and the children that are there, that's again an investment that we put in. So we have not done any of these updates this last year, so that was able to help to contribute to some of that. One piece that I did want to add in is that new for this upcoming fiscal year, this is specifically for the revolving budget, that the Park Commission has decided to approve contributing 1% of the Camp T revenue to the Long Lake Stability Revolving Fund. So that can help the Clean Lakes Committee fund conservation actions to support the water quality, environmental needs of Long Lake. So this past, current fiscal year, we did try to see if we can get some money ahead of time to help them out. So we were able to collect around $2,290 from membership fees and donations. So that will go directly into the Stability Fund. Okay. So I love this. This is the, we have so many questions that come up about the revolving. So overall, where are we at? So as of December 31st, we had $740,000 as cash in revolving. Why is December important? So December is super important because this is, it provides the most accurate snapshot for our financial activity. Our program schedule does not align neatly with the town's July through June fiscal year. And beginning on January 1st, we open our summer registrations and begin collecting revenue for programs that occur in the next fiscal year. A large majority of our department's revenue comes from those summer programs. So things always look a little bit skewed. So what are we going to do with those funds, right? That's been a question that's come up. So the reality is, like, we have talked about this a few times, that the Recreation Commission and the Park and Rec Department, we've been implementing this like planned savings since we actually created the revolving fund in 22. We shut down the enterprise, switched over to the revolving. So the goal has always been to be able to maintain financial stability for the department, to fully fund equipment, facility improvements without placing any burden on the general fund, capital, or CPC. So one of the things that we've talked about that might help with some of the transparency of this is breaking out some of these lines into a stability account and a project account. So the stability account is specifically going to be 15% of the expenditures. And this is something that, you know, we wanted to be able to reserve this amount for any unforeseen circumstances, similar to the impacts that we experienced during COVID. So being able to have these funds set aside will allow the department to absorb losses without needing assistance from the general fund. I know it is something to be fiscally responsible that has been a very important goal of mine over the last 10 years, so we're finally getting to that place where we're able to do this. So the project account, what are we gonna use these things for? Coming up, one of the things that we will need to do is to support any repairs that we have at Littleton High School baseball field and softball field. This will help the ball field needs during the Shaker Lane building project. So those 3 fields that are at Shaker Lane will be unavailable for use during that 3 to 4 year period of construction. So those updates are absolutely essential to ensure that we don't get to a place. When I first started, the fields were a bit of a hot mess. We've worked really hard, Highways worked really hard over the last 10 years to make sure that our fields are pristine, they're beautiful, they've done excellent work. So we want to be able to keep them that way. So if we're able to reinstitute the 2 fields that are at the high school, and then potentially look at doing an interim practice or T-ball field at Cooper Farm. And again, this is not a full-time, like that's going to be that forever. That will be able to help out through that 3 to 4 year time period till we can move back on to those fields that would be at Shaker Lane. In the future, what will we do with those funds? The funds that in there would be able to help cover feasibility reports, design fees, things like that for potentially capital projects or CPC projects. Those are things that they can be quite expensive, and they need to be accomplished for us to actually move forward with projects. So that's something that would be in that. To be able to contribute to overall costs of any major capital improvement projects, help pay any bond obligations for PRCE capital projects, and to support ongoing upgrades and maintenance of the parks, playgrounds, and recreation facilities. So that's kind of the overall goal of what we're planning on doing with those funds that we have in the revolving budget.
Can I put a question, just on that piece, so
Yeah.
the 15%, that's a stability / project, or is it separate?
Separate.
So
They're
the
two
15%
separate.
is
Yep.
stability, you didn't mention how the project.
Oh, I'm sorry. So 15% of the revenue would be, not revenue, what the words were spent. Sorry. So 50% of any of the expenditures that would be covered, and then we would separate and have a separate project account line, and the rest of those funds would go into that line item.
I think you have to be careful, Alicia, so I know the importance of the December number.
Yeah.
740. But there is some things that may not work.
Yeah.
Like a Camp T does, where it definitely crosses fiscal year. So
Yep.
some of that 740 could be for this current fiscal year.
Yep.
So you may want to just, out of that 573, figure out how much of that needs to actually stay in the operations.
100%. Yep.
And then you have something that
Yep.
is available for projects.
That's just what we had at the moment, but yes, those
Right.
calculations
Yep.
do need to happen, absolutely.
I'm a big advocate for reserves. I was here when you were going crazy with COVID and doing the refunds. I
Yeah.
totally understand the need for it. I think it's a smart use of the funds. I do encourage the commissioners to put that policy in place. Not only that it establishes, but how it's gonna be used. And especially the project things, what types of things, who has control of it, who has the authorization to use that, those types of things need to be covered in that. If you-
Don't limit yourself,
Right.
yeah, be as general as you can with those.
Sure.
Yeah.
Within the
And
confines.
if you're able over the next year or so to cover those feasibility studies out of those funds, that's absolutely great.
Yeah. That's the hope. I think that might be everything. Yeah? Are there any additional questions that any of you have?
Dog park.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, yeah?
Well, since he gave up on the water.
Now I'm all over the dog
No,
park.
oh, okay, all right. You've
No.
given up on the water.
I know we've talked about this one for a while.
Yeah, I know.
I was just looking when you were mentioning the design and everything. We have designs that potentially, if there's a piece of land that was similar to the one we were going to put up at Duper, that design is actually, we paid for, it's already been done, the entire layout of the dog
I've
park.
never seen that, really?
Yeah, so
Awesome.
have to dig that
Tennis and
up.
dog park.
Yeah, I would love,
Yeah.
love to see that. When did that
might-
happen?
That was under our prior town administrator, under Anthony
Was
Insaldi.
that was
Oh,
part of the
wow.
tennis court project?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so they
Interesting.
had laid out the dog park along with it.
yeah, we
Okay.
attached that on with the parking and
I did
everything.
not know that, yeah, okay.
The other thing was, you know, I hate to see these special events get cut, you know, to some degree, but I think there may be some opportunity here with Rotary to pick up
Yeah.
one of these events, if it's one that you're really struggling with
Yeah.
potentially during this time.
They have been so supportive.
Yeah.
They help out
I
so
do.
much, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So Fay Park is the #1 project bid.
It's ready, it's time.
Yeah, I think, you know, I think we need a lot of thought on what that ends up looking like and what the community wants to see there. You know, right now, it's a big open space, not a lot of.
No parking.
No parking,
No
yeah.
parking and not much there other than big green space, which is not necessarily a bad thing. So I think there's, you know, a lot of work to be done just to figure out what needs to go on there, but making some accessible trails and ways to get through the park. Certainly part of that. Yeah, there used to be more playground equipment there that we pulled out a number of years ago because it was getting pretty dilapidated.
Like
Yes.
volleyball.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of potential to figuring out there's also a lot of thought needs to go into what's gonna make the community happy and make that better space.
Shade Tree's working on creating the
The
tree
line,
line there, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else, Rick?
Well, you're getting a new assistant, so that's, we talk about that a little
Bittersweet.
bit. What's the plan on that?
Yeah. We will post the job relatively soon
Okay.
and then go through the process that we do for hiring a new person on, so,
Starting before your crazy season, I hope.
yeah. Yep,
That's
so
the plan.
as soon as we can, that is the goal for sure, yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it, have a great night.
You too.
You too.
Thank you.
Did you already go through everything?
What's that?
Did you already go through all this stuff?
You're all done.
Yeah, except for select board, now I have to do, you guys are the moderators, $100 to the moderator. Yeah, but goals and all that, your goals, our goals,
Should have been #1 on your list.
without a doubt, and our hearts. So, strategic goals for the select board. Study impacts of the new housing developments, improve town communications, address staffing and organizational structure at 37 Shattuck Street, plan for potential charter changes, highlight Littleton's agricultural heritage, continue to implement the Citizens Leadership Academy, develop a plan for the Orchard House non-restricted land area. Okay. So, select, the operate increase, for, the increase was to Magic, MAPC, and assessment by $2,000, so it's aligned with the actual expenditures. In FY '26, this line was already, had already expended $6,710. So we have a total of $26,300 for our operating budget. The town meeting budget, the budgets include for $15,000 and $20,000 for town meeting and report expenses. Town moderator professional services. He's making bank, $100.
More than us.
That's it.
2 nights.
Just one quick question on the leadership academy. Is that virtual or is it in person?
I'm sorry?
Virtual in person.
It's in person. Yes, sir.
Applications are being accepted, right, Tony?
Absolutely.
Wednesday
Yes.
nights will be the meetings.
Wednesday night starting in February 25th.
Yep. Big graduation at annual town meeting. Cap and gowns, the whole 9 yards.
Where was that budget line item?
Valedictorian. We're gonna make the cap and gowns out of sheets.
I see.
Construction paper.
Construction paper, there you
Bring in
go.
a sewing machine.
February 29th.
Is that it?
That's it.
Anything else?
That's all I got.
Saturday,
Looking forward to
plan
it.
is
Do we have something
departments.
That's our pre-Super Bowl party, right?
Bring the chili.
Department heads, morning, so they're done. We have separate discussion on the facility, the new library, first floor down there. $158,000 proposal. Then a working lunch, talk about the budget, any changes anybody has. You've heard things and you've jotted them down. We'll discuss those. If you guys have any adjustments that need to be made, especially after last week's conversations, we should deal with them at that point in time. And then we talk about capital and warrant articles and things that fall out of free cash. So, plan on a long day.
Take out the machete.
Lunch will be served, so.
The one thing that struck me a little bit different this year that I noticed was the, I hate to call it nickel and diming, but it seemed like there was a little bit more of that this year with some of the smaller departments. And it just dawned on me that, you know, what a $10,000 is to cemetery or historical, what that means to them compared to what it means to a school budget or police or fire, one of our big departments. I'd really like to look at those departments really hard to try to potentially meet some of these needs that, as opposed to cuts, and some of these cuts that they have a good argument for here, because it's so minuscule to their budget, but so much, so important to some of the budgets there.
Maybe it would be helpful to see the percentages of the budget that were cut, right? So like if it's $400, is that 1% of their budget? Is that 10% of their budget?
Yeah, I just, when you see it, you're like, man, $400?
So two things is for everything we put back, we need to take something else
Yeah,
out.
no, I'm aware, it was something that I wanted to look at myself.
The second
just to
thing, when
see.
we talk about those things, is to rely on the finance team as to why those things were cut. I mean,
Yeah.
they dealt with these things, this is
Right.
Jim's recommendation to us, and we should give him to.
And quite honestly, this is a tremendous involvement by the department heads. I mean, it was at one point that you meet with them, then we met again, We asked them, and Robert had reached out to them and said, okay, please submit, cut what you can in your deposit. We're not gonna go in there because with that, so these are all recommendations that the department heads, and in speaking with them, okay, you're okay with what you submitted for a cut? Yep, yes.
No, it's great work, and what's been done with that. It's now from the top looking down, from the, you know, the executive level, okay, is there 20,000, because I'm just looking at all the budgets that came in front of us just tonight that had to make some of these smaller cuts, and they weren't all potentially
450 for
real
Board of
important.
Health, this was-
450,
yeah.
it's like, I just look at some of those really big budgets and say, hey,
Well,
can we take something
No, and-
without it even being
No,
an issue?
right, and
We'll work on that
I
Saturday.
mean, I completely appreciate that, but we've also made the decision internally, we're not gonna turn the water on at the common, the water. I mean, this is where we are.
Yeah. No, I understand what we're trying to do. It was just more of a, we'll look at the bigger, me personally, I'm gonna look at the bigger budgets a little bit harder on Saturday than I probably normally would. That's all.
Okay.
Not that, this is
Fair
great
enough.
what the departments have come forward to you and presented to you, because, you know, they really care, they really get it.
They really do.
And, but now we can beat up the four bigs and see what we can come up
And they've come to the table too.
They have, exactly.
with. Okay, that's what I haven't seen, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of things that we can't see from it, we can see actuals from, you know, 25, but spending to date in 26 is something that Robert and Kim would have to tell us.
You're right.
You know,
Well,
some of
it's
the-
not
Some of the
complete.
things, if you look at the line items, you know, there's always some padding in those things. They don't all spend them down to
It's
nothing.
true. That's true.
And plus expenses, when you deal with expenses, it's, you can overspend one line, but you're gonna make it up in another somewhere else, so.
And spending to date, some things are seasonal, so you don't, you know, one line could look, oh, we didn't spend very much right now, but it comes in the spring. Some renewals come in the spring, so it's
But they
not
should be
always,
encumbering those.
it's not
those funds
always a
out
good
there.
reflection. Well, it's
Right.
not.
And we only looked at, that was a snapshot, we just got that email today, right, of where we are, budget-wise, what's been spent. And I'm
Right.
looking through it, and I'm like, it is hard to decipher, well, what, some of these budgets aren't even
Yeah,
close.
that's
Yeah.
the summary. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember looking at one, it's town council's line, right, because it's encumbered. How did we spend 90% of our budget in month two?
Yeah,
or
yeah,
what?
that gives you a little bit of a panic, doesn't it?
I didn't ask that many questions, did I?
That'd be me.
No, thank you.
Yep,
Good
appreciate
job.
it.
We'll say it again on Saturday, too. Good job.
Yeah, and we'll
Thank
bring
you.
the deficit tracking that we've done and where we're at with all the changes that we know of,
Mhm.
and have that discussion Saturday.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It's a lot of work. Thank you, guys.
We have to stick around, finance committee, but select board can go home.
Just sending this home.
Send it home.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.